of Education to order. I am Lisa Klein, Chair of the Facilities and Operations Committee. We have a quorum present, so let's start with the introduction of committee members. I am Lisa Klein. Again, I represent District 5 of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. Ms. Shipp?
I'm Lenora Shipp. I represent at large for the school board. Thank you.
Ms. Nunn?
Summer Nunn, and I represent District 6 on the school board.
Thank you. And I don't see any other school board members present, so we will continue. We have 3 agenda items today. We will begin with the October monthly spending report. Even though it's December, it's just a review. I turn to Kelly Klutz and Mandy Sayer to report.
Thank you, Chair Klein. I'm going to allow Mandy Sayer to give the report today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Klein and Chair Klutz. For our October month to date, we are trending as expected for our funds. We are starting here with our state fund, showing that we've used about 30% of the budget so far for this year. The one thing I would remind everyone viewing these financials of is that our year-to-date balance includes both expenditures that have already been paid as well as encumbrances, so things where we have POs with vendors that we're either waiting on goods, services, or invoice to be able to pay. So while we're only a few months into the school year, we do have a lot of POs open that carry us farther into the school year that are showing in the actual numbers. In our local fund, our revenues for the month are slightly higher than expected at 42%. That's because Mecklenburg County sent us our money for November early. We received that in October, and we receive it and recognize it as revenue when we receive. So that's a bit higher than expected. And then the other thing I would call your attention to for Fund 2 is in the month to date for the payments to other government units and transfer of funds, you'll see a negative amount there. That was an adjustment on a PO. So we reduced the amount on a purchase order, which took money out just month to date, making adjustments as we do in the normal course of business. Our Fund 30 financials are as one would expect. Again, you'll see that Fund 30 is a little bit lower than our state fund. And as a reminder, Fund 30 is our federal fund. That is a little bit lower. Some of those monies do carry into the next year. So they are not spent at as rapid a pace at the beginning of the year as some of the other funds. We also then have what we call our Fund 4X. This is our capital fund as well as our bond fund. This is where we're paying for all of our capital items as well as any of the new school builds. And this is proceeding as expected. And these are shown life to date for some of the larger bonds, which is why you see larger numbers there. When we come to our school nutrition, again, we do expect both school nutrition in Fund 50 and after school, which is in Fund 60, to be on a negative basis right now in terms of the overall net income and loss. We do expect them to operate in a position of loss to start the year, and then they start trending upwards as the year goes on, and they collect fees because they are self-revenue generating funds. The one thing I will say with Fund 5 is we notice that the expenses here do look a bit higher than one would expect at the end of October. And so we are looking into the timing of how things transition from an inventory to an expense as we take things out of our food warehouses and send them to our schools for use in feeding our kids. You want those to time where your revenue and your expense match up. Right now, things are appear to be hitting the expense when we receive it in the warehouse, which is not when we're feeding the kids. So we are looking at that to make sure that timing looks a little more consistent with what we had in prior year. And we will continue to update you on that as we look into that a bit more and do some more research there. Our ASEP program continues to go strong. We have more students enrolled there than we would expect. And as we expected in our budget, this is the second year where we've had that trend occurring, and we have continued to check in with our ASEP team. They feel like they're appropriately staffed and have what they need to continue to serve the larger population that they're serving. And then the final statement we'll talk about is our special revenue fund, our Fund 80. Again, this is various things, including grants, donations, et cetera, that are not federal funded. And so we have a variety of spending here just based on the nature of the various grants involved, but everything is in line with expectations, and we feel comfortable that we'll utilize what we need to the fullest of our ability. So with that, I will answer any questions on the financial statements before we move to the second agenda item for finance.
Ms. Nunn or Ms. Ship, do you have any questions? Ms. Ship, I don't see you, so all right, I do have a couple of
Yes.
questions.
Oh.
You do? Okay, go ahead. Ms.
Just,
Ship.
yeah, because mine is quick. You mentioned that, about the after school and that we've had increases, and you kind of hit on that because I know a couple of staff members been concerned, over, having appropriate staff that they need and being able to hire. So and funding there. So what does that look like? Is the hiring and being able to keep sites open, like with some, since we're still kind of in the beginning of the year, are sites gonna be able to stay open? Are we watching that as well as some may need to close in terms of staff and or funding?
So from what we've heard in our most recent updates with the head of the after-school program, they feel comfortable with their funding and confident that they are able to meet the needs that they have within the building. And they continue to have hiring events to make sure we're supporting the ASEP population. So all positive things coming from them in terms of being able to meet the needs of the district. Thank you for the question.
All right. Well, that's it for me now, right now. Thank you.
Well, question about the December early or the October early pay. Are you expecting, because December and everything ending earlier because of the holidays, that you'll get monies earlier from the county, from local?
Oh, that just varies depending on when they send the wire to us. Some days they send the wire early in the morning and it shows up in our bank account the same day. And some days they send it on the last day of the month later in the day and it shows up the next month. So that's an anticipated trend. I said it would say an unanticipated trend in that it just depends on when they hit the button for the wire. It's normally not impacted by the holidays. So I would not expect it to be impacted due to holidays. It's more just when they choose to send. We normally
Okay.
always have it within the first week of the month. Sometimes we just get a little bit early, which is what happened this month.
Okay. With the state not having passed a budget, how is it, because we don't meet that often, and this is something the public should know, what are our anticipated issues coming? Are we going to get any money, or is the state not sending us money?
They just continue to send us money as we order it, but Chief Klutz, I'll let you.
Yes, school districts are fortunate in that when the state adopts a continuing budget resolution, so what that means is that the state can continue to operate in the same manner that it was previously operating, which means that they're authorized to give us cash to that point too. So as Mandy indicated, we just order cash as we need it. The money is available and we're not seeing any negative impact on the cash ordering specifically related to state, and we do not anticipate one either.
Do you, then that leads me to the federal question. With anticipated cuts, I know that you've made adjustments to the budget, but are we seeing any issues? And now that we've got the government back open, are we looking okay for the end of the year and the next couple of months?
We're in a really good place. The team was extremely proactive. As we've mentioned before, how, over the ESSER years, there was a little bit of carryover. So the team went into action real early and made a decision to hold a lot of expenditures back so that we could protect and ensure that we had dollars to pay for staff. And so we know that we can pay for staff this year, and we know that we can pay for staff next year in our current plan. So we still do not know what they're going to do to us and how much they're going to cut or how much they're going to cut. But we do know in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, we can pay for our staff this year and next year.
Okay, great. Thank you.
That's good.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay, you can go ahead. Mandy, you can go ahead.
Sure. So the next item for finance is our report out on the results of our annual audit. And so we have Chad Cook with us today. Chad is a director with Forvis Mazars, our external audit firm, and he's going to take you through a high level of what we covered during the audit this year, as well as the results of the audit. So Chad, I will turn it to you.
Okay, thank you, Mandy. And yes, before we get started, I just want to say thank you to Kelly and Mandy and all the finance team. We know it's a tremendous lift getting ready for the audit each year, and so we certainly appreciate their help and just the number of requests that we have throughout the process. Lots of late nights, weekends, getting us to this point, but happy to report that we're nearing issuance on the statements. Today, I've got some required communications. I've got several slides, but trying to keep this brief so I don't leave time for questions at the end. But I'm going to run through just really some required communications at the conclusion of our audit. And then again, if anyone has any questions, happy to answer those once I've gone through that. High level, our audit, again, is for the year ended June 30th, 2025. It's due to the state by 12/31. However, this year, there's a little bit of a lag in the federal government releasing the OMB compliance supplement. The OMB compliance supplement typically is issued in early spring or summer. They did not get around to that before the federal government shut down, and because they have not issued it, we can't issue the federal compliance audits yet. So the plan this year is first we're going to issue the financial statements. That's going to be in the near term. Going to be issuing those very soon. The federal piece will have to come later, and it's kind of at a date to be determined because we have to audit in accordance with the compliance supplement, which is not available. And so, yeah, that's not unique to Charlotte-Meck. It's all schools and all governmental entities that have single audit requirements across the country. Right now, we're just kind of in limbo, waiting on the federal government to release that. We do like to point out our audit is in accordance with a few different set of standards. I just talked about uniform guidance and the compliance audit that we have to perform, but also on the financial reporting side, we are auditing in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, which are issued by ASCPA, as well as government auditing standards because of the level of state and federal funding that you all receive. Our audit also includes some supplementary and other information. We do like to point out that while the financial statements will contain required supplementary information, as well as some other information, things like statistical sections within the annual comprehensive financial report, we don't necessarily provide opinions directly over that supplementary and other information. What we do during the audit is focused on the financial statement figures and information there. These other schedules, the supplementary information, we make sure we read through that and make sure that it's consistent with the audited figures. Anything that is a financial figure, we make sure that there's not an inconsistency there. But we don't provide direct opinions related to that supplementary information. Independence, we do perform some non-attest services as part of our audit engagement. So in addition to just the basic audit, we also assist in preparing the financial statements for the school board, as well as the schedule of expenditures of federal and state awards. And then also we assist with completing the data collection form at the completion of our single audit and uploading that to the Federal Audit Clearinghouse. For all of those, certainly management is heavily involved and ultimately is responsible for designating a qualified individual to oversee those services and to take responsibility for them, before they are finalized. And so obviously we'll be reviewing anything that we're doing like this with management before it's in any type of final form. But I do like to point out that is some other services we're performing in addition to the audit. As far as the status goes, we do anticipate issuing an unmodified opinion on the financial statements or clean opinion on the financial statements as of and for the year ended June 30th, 2025. We talked about the supplementary information, but one other thing I did want to point out, the emphasis of matter, you will see within our report this year that we have an emphasis of matter related to a new accounting standard. So GASB 101 is a new standard that the GASB released related to compensated absences. It's really just designed to address some inconsistency that they were seeing really across the country in all the different types of leave. So things like accrued vacation, sick time, comp time, et cetera. There were some differing practices in terms of what's being counted in compensated absences as a liability within the financial statements. And so there's a new standard this year that kind of redefined it and said, here's how we define what is a compensated absence, what is not. And it was required to be implemented really July 1st, 2024. So we were required to restate beginning balances for those liabilities as of July 1st, 24, and then also the calculation again at June 30th, 2025. And so you will see some additional disclosures and just that emphasis of matter within our report. It's not a correction of an error. It's not, you know, anything related to internal controls. It's just there's a new standard that required implementation this year, and so there's some adjustments related to that standard. Again, we touched on this, but we do also provide reports on compliance for any major federal programs in accordance with uniform guidance. And then also we have to report on compliance with state programs in accordance with the North Carolina State Single Audit Implementation Act. We have done the audit work there. We're not anticipating you know, any type of findings related to those audits. We expect to issue unmodified opinions. But again, we do have to wait until the OMB compliance supplement is issued. We have to see, you know, essentially what we've done right now is we've tested it the way that it would have been required to be tested back in 2024. If there are changes in the final version of 25, we'll have to go through, maybe perform some additional procedures. We don't necessarily expect that to be the case. We just, again, don't know until they release that compliance supplement, you know, what additional work may be necessary. But at this point, we have completed the work. We don't have any findings, no internal control, significant deficiencies, material weaknesses, et cetera, that we would be required to report there. But just can't finalize those reports, you know, until we're actually able to do so. I just touched a little bit on internal control communication. We've got a few slides that kind of define our responsibilities. But just to summarize, we would have to be, because we're reporting under government auditing standards, we are required to report to you all directly within the financial statements if we had any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in either internal controls over financial reporting or compliance with your federal and state grant programs, which could have an impact on the financial statement figures. We've got a lot of language here in the next couple slides, but a lot of it just to say we did not have any this year. So no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses that were required to be reported to you all as a result of the audit procedures this year. Again, with the only caveat being we still have to complete the compliance audits if the guidance does change, but as of right now, nothing to report. Adjustments identified in the audit. Really, if we have any proposed and recorded adjustments that are large, or if we have any uncorrected misstatements within the financial statements, we are required to report those to you all. There was only one proposed and recorded adjustment, and this one really just related to timing. There were some school buses that were received in mid-July, and I think there was a little timing difference with DPI on when they recorded the first payment for those school buses. Excuse me, the buses were received in June. They didn't make the first payment until July, so there's a little timing difference there. Because the buses, though, were received by Charlotte-Meck during June, we went ahead and made the adjustment to recognize the expenditure and the related debt issuance in June, as opposed to waiting and recording that in July. And so that's really the only adjustment that we are required to point out there. And then uncorrected misstatements. This relates to what are essentially corrections in the financial statements this year related to prior years. So in the prior years, there had been some variances in a CIP schedule, the construction and process schedule, that had been out there for a really long time. And this year, management made a decision, let's go ahead and clean that up. Let's get our CIP on the balance sheet to line up with the detailed schedule that we have. And in order to do that, a one-time adjustment kind of had to run through the income statement for governmental activities this year. So technically, the expenses are actually a little bit too high in the financial statements this year, but ultimately that entry was necessary in order to get the construction and process, to where it needed to be. That should just be a one-time adjustment. No similar adjustments going forward should be necessary now that that's been corrected. With the size of the balance sheet for the organization, that's certainly not considered to be a material adjustment, but we just are required to point out that that is in there. All right, moving on. The rest of a lot of the next slides are really kind of talking about some of the things we already discussed. Number one, GASB 101, we talked about that. There was a change in compensated absences, but aside from that, there's other required communications where if there were any unusual policies or methods, or if we had alternative accounting treatments, maybe ways that maybe disagreements we have with management and the way things were handled, and they decided to get us a second opinion. Or if we just had difficulties in completing our audit process, we'd be required to report those to you all. So we've got a lot of, here's the different sections of required communications for us, but within all of them, it's just no matters are reported. We don't have any such items to report to you all. One thing we do like to point out is that the financial statements do contain judgments and estimates. That's inherent in all financial statements. The ones that we think are key, for Charlotte-Meck schools would be the allowance for any uncollectible receivables, the commitments and contingent liabilities, potential impairment on any long-lived assets, which we do not have any this year. Compensated absences, that's the new one this year with the implementation of GASB 101. So some more, I guess, estimates that go into that calculation now, whereas in the past it used to just be a pretty straightforward calculation. And then your pension and OPEB related liabilities and balances. So those are significant estimates that are in the financials. Certainly, we make sure that the estimates are based on reasonable assumptions. We take a look at the calculations are calculated properly, that they're done in accordance with industry standards. But nonetheless, they are estimates. Changes in those assumptions could have a fairly large impact on the financial statement figures that are reported on. Moving on, yeah, we did talk about GASB 101 compensated absences. There was also another standard effective this year, GASB Statement 102, which is certain risk disclosures. There was no impact on Charlotte-Meck schools for that. You may see that in other organizations. It's really kind of tied to concentrations and risks in particular markets. We didn't identify any of those for Charlotte-Meck schools, and so there's no real impact there. And then lastly, we'd just like to point out there are a couple other new standards that are becoming. There's a big one next year, Statement 103, financial reporting model improvements. It's going to change kind of the presentation of the financial statements. And the biggest thing is going to be in management's discussion and analysis. It's going to be expanded quite a bit from the current format. So just something to be on the lookout next year. There'll be a little bit of inconsistency when looking at 25 financials to 26 because of what's defined as required supplementary information versus basic supplementary information, and then also that management discussion and analysis. So. And then lastly, updated uniform guidance. I think we had this slide in here last year, but I'd just like to point out we've seen a little bit of confusion around this, but there was an updated uniform guidance effective October 1st, 2024. The federal single audit threshold, you all are so far over it that really doesn't matter, but it increased from 750,000 to $1 million. It's not effective though until fiscal years beginning on or after October 1st, 24. So really for you all, it's fiscal 2026. So even though this was issued 9 months before the end of the fiscal year, it doesn't impact the organization until fiscal 2026. And really that's it as far as our required communications and what I was planning to present. But again, certainly happy at this point to answer any questions you all may have about the audit process.
Ms. Ship, Ms. Nunn?
I'm good on my end.
I'm good too. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Mr. Cook.
Thank you.
All right, so we will now thank you, Ms. Klutz, Ms. Sayer, for everything. We are now going to move on to our second item, which is construction facilities report. Mr. Ivy?
Thank you, Chair Klein. Let me share my screen and get started. We do have 3 reports that we go over for the construction and facilities. They are from Sean Turner, our Executive Director of Building Support Services. She'll be going over the encumbrance. Then we have David Switzer, who'll be going over our 2 capital maintenance project lists. And then I'll turn it over to our Associate Superintendent Operations, Nicole Porti, to talk about our FCA. So at this time, I'm going to ask Ms. Turner if she will come on to do our capital maintenance encumbrance report.
And before we go on, I hate to interrupt, could we, Ms. Byers-Bailey joined. Ms. Byers-Bailey, would you just say hello?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good.
Thanks for joining. Thank you. Go ahead, please, Mr. Turner.
Good afternoon.
Ms. Turner, sorry.
Good afternoon, Chair Klein and other members of the board. Just wanted to report regarding our 2026 capital maintenance tracking for this year. During the first 3 months of the year, we're showing that we've encumbered and paid 48% of our total budget, which is $32,960,000. Probably the bulk of that is HVAC and site improvements. And basically that's the bulk of my report, unless you have specific questions for me.
Ms. Byers-Bailey, do you have any questions?
Thank you.
Ms. Nunn?
I'm
I
good.
can't, okay, Ms. Ship?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, I don't know if this is under you, but I noticed that some projects were canceled, yet we have money. Why were they canceled? If we
That
have
is
funding.
Mr. Switzer, and he
Okay,
will
that's
be
a
able
Mr.
to,
Switzer. Okay.
yes.
All right, so we'll save that one. Mr. Switzer, I'll have that question. Thank you, Ms. Turner.
All right, now we'll turn it over to Mr. Switzer, who's going to talk about our 23-24 capital maintenance projects.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to present this information to you. We are sharing the same format that we have in the past meetings. As we have on here, the highlighted items are the ones that we have completed since our last meeting. So you can see on there whether it's upfit lights to LEDs, and then working on several of the mobile classrooms, Barnett being one of them. Tim, if you go to the next slide or next page, please. And again, several of the other completed items. Let's go down to the bottom then, answer some of the questions that Ms. Klein was having. So at this part, we have summer 25 projects, and you can see 2 of them have been moved to the FCA phase 1. So both of those projects were handled by the facilities management team, and they are part of a larger scope of projects at those schools. So Mallet Creek Elementary School is getting several things, and they are project managing that. Our next one about fall 25 projects at the end. Myers Park track is on track, no pun intended. Will be after the football season's over. They've been doing tree work there, and they will get that track installed and taken care of on that regard. And again, several of our mobiles, they are still in the process of being installed and taken care of. So mobile wise, we have a new UDO that's been put in effect by the city. And so we have had to deal with that. And so from project creation until project completion, our timeline's been about 13 months. So for Barnett, Huntersville, and Mint Hill, all of them were August of 24 as far as creation of the projects. And then they have started coming in completed by August, October, November timeframe. So those are 3 of the ones that we've been able to finish up. So those are 3 of the 6 that we had originally planned for, with Haven, Rivergate, and Palisades Park right now. Those Rivergate and Haven are really almost near completion. Palisades, we are still waiting again, permitting, and we will start after that. I know one point of discussion has been Old Providence with the modular that's in the parking lot there. And with our document, what we've started from origination, as we said, it's about 13 months with this new UDO, and we are waiting on the permit to go through. And then at that point, we will get the renovations taken care of and get that out of the parking lot that's been over there near and dear to many people over in that community. So as far as mobiles, that's kind of the timeline for everything that we have on there. Tim, if you'll go down one more. This kind of goes to what, even though Sean Turner's presentation was our current year's money, this is past year's money. The reason some of these were either moved mainly is because of budget from previous, and we just didn't have the funding to be able to do, whether it's some middle school tracks or even some paving. So that is the 23-24. If we have any questions on that, or I'll move on to 24 and just do it all together, whichever one you all would like.
I want to go back to the Old Providence because I sent Tim an email. It's been 9 months since the first email that I sent in March, and Ed Driggs said he would move this along, and I've never received any information. So I'm very disappointed, Mr. Ivy, that we have a problem with this huge mobile that's been sitting here, and now I'm hearing that 13 more months. That's unacceptable, especially when this is directed at Mr. Ivy as this is unacceptable. The neighborhood is incredibly upset with this. It is an eyesore. The CMS PD only patrol during the day. I was told by the CMS police officer, oh, we come and check on it during the day. Well, not, and it's at night when the problems occur. The plastic is ripped. And then I was told that the numbers at Old Providence have shrunk. So is there really a need for this mobile unit that really was not part of the plan at one time? So my question is, do we want to go ahead and try to get Ed Driggs to help us along? If so, give me the information so I can pass it along to him. I have his phone number. And we got to do something. Either get rid of it if we don't need it, or make it 13 months from March of this year.
Thank you, Ms. Klein. So I did want to clarify, it's not 13 more months. What we're seeing is it's 13 months average time from when a project's created until completion. So that's the average. Some of them are taking 14 months. So what we're saying is from the time that we start the project and submit our permit, it is on average taking about that amount of time before your permit is coming back through the new UDO process.
So
And
when was the permit submitted for Old Providence?
and Mr. Switzer has that information.
Yeah, so for them, Ms. Klein, so this was shifted over from facilities management. So our project manager is taking over that. And the city has a new system, a permit system. That's been some of the hiccups for them. So we are expecting that it'll be finished any time over the next, we hope, month, so that then we can continue on with the renovations or get funding allocation for that. So yes,
So
again, if I
you
miss.
are saying 13. I'm sorry.
No, it's not going to be 13. Yeah, and again, the 13 months we talked about on average is from all the mobiles that we've had. So the permitting already from facilities, they've already submitted the permitting process and everything. So we are right around the corner from getting that permit. Our project manager, who has now newly taken over this project, because again, we had some leadership changes in facility management. So we've shifted and we've taken over building services for the modular. So we are hoping over the next month to get the permit so that we can get it. And once we get a permit in hands, historically, it's taken us about 2 to 3 months at most to do all as far as if it had movement to do that, which they'll have to move some with there because we're going to have to take some of the mobiles out to be able to place that modular there and then to renovation.
All right, because I know the neighborhood is pretty upset about it, and I hate to leave this open with me rolling off. I know Miss Nunn's daughter goes to Old Providence, and I'm sure she hears about it as much as I do. And like I said, I'm very disappointed that I've known about all the changes in the city, but it just seems like this is not only an eyesore, it's become a dangerous situation with our neighborhood fun things that kids like to do. Miss Nunn?
Yeah, and also the board member rolling off, and the bulk of these mobiles are in my district, with the exception of Old Providence. Is there any way we can set a meeting with the city to work through this? 13 months is an entire school year missed, and a lot of times these mobiles are placed based on capacity needs, which, especially for District 6, which we have like the largest growth population, I think, of the county, and are constantly needing these moved around. I encourage you guys, and I'm happy, even though I'm rolling off, to also contact city council members as well. But like, this is unacceptable given they know our needs, and there's got to be a way that we can work with them. And maybe Ms. Shipp, who's the lone member who will be here moving forward, maybe that can be facilitated too, because it's absolutely too long for us to wait to relieve some of these buildings and classrooms.
And especially when the population at Old Providence dropped and we're adding this large mobile unit. It's now, do we really need it? And with new leadership there.
Yeah, that's the biggest concern.
Is it better elsewhere?
Well, one of the things, and I appreciate the feedback, one of the things Mr. Ivy and I have definitely a goal is really 30% reduction and mobiles across the district. So we really are trying to get out of the mobile business altogether because we do see the impact. Now, I will say too is this 13 months, more of a collaboration with student planning and everything. That's part of that. That's why mobiles we place. So again, it's not like they needed them and all of a sudden we got to run and get them. It is a kind of a process that's been kind of reviewed and adjusted. And it wasn't a great process in the past. So that's what we're kind of working on. But I do appreciate the feedback about getting the city together. I think getting everybody on board is really a great idea to be able to say, hey, we can't wait this long, because again, we had all the drawings, we had everything ready to go. We're very responsive to that. So I appreciate the feedback on that, and we will definitely push that forward.
Right. And I would be glad to go move on with this project in any way necessary. I spent some time working at Old Providence actually. So yes, I'd be glad to do that. And I'm very concerned, like board member Nunn said, that this is one of the largest growing areas where we've had numerous amounts of mobiles at schools. So we really need to take a look at what we're doing with this.
Yeah.
And especially with enrollment, if enrollment has gone down, we really need to think about what we're doing, especially with a situation like this one at Old Providence.
Right, and I appreciate it. And again, I've spoken to Ed Driggs 2 or 3 times, and his comment has been, just give me the number and I will do what I need to do. And the number from our requisition number or whatever from CMS, he said if he had that, he could have pushed it through. So, and I've asked Tim for that a couple times. We just need, just with us, the 3 of us rolling off and leaving it with Miss Lenore Ship, that this is taken care of. And I agree with Ms. Nunn, the District 6 and District 5, there is growth, except at Old Providence where numbers did drop. So I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Switzer, for your work and taking all this on.
Yes, you're welcome. And as we move to 24, 25, I'll still be here. So I'm not going to let it fall off. We'll make sure that it gets taken care of. It's high on the priority list, definitely. So Mr. Ivy, if you could, 24, 25.
I'd just like to say before we move on, I'd certainly understand that your concerns, and we have worked to try to make sure that we've gotten this moved as fast as possible. And I know that Ms. Nunn brought up about the future of mobile. So we have spent quite a bit of time with planning and forecasting, so that we're actually trying to reduce the amount of money we use in moving mobiles by looking ahead at what's future projections and things of that nature. So I appreciate each of your patience as we've worked through this particular situation at Old Providence. As Mr. Switzer mentioned, this was a project that sort of came to in his purview late in the process. So we appreciate that, the work that he's done to try to get it back on track. All right, for 24, 25 capital maintenance projects, Mr.
Right,
Switzer.
Yes, sir. So again, same format for 23, 24. You could see a lot of blue in there that we're moving forward on. As you can see, as far as a lot of HVAC or roofing work. So we've had several items completed. One of the ones to point out, it was Clear Creek. So the vendor wasn't able to deliver in a timely manner for Clear Creek. So that had to be pushed back for a summer. If you go to the next page on that, it'll be able to kind of see again, there's the mobiles that are on there. So again, they were part of this process as well. So we have Barnett, Huntersville, Mint Hill that are all completed, and then working on the 3 others. And then again, several of our other projects that are in place right now. So we are a little over 65%, 70% for 24, 25. Go down one more page on that. And you can see again, capital assets as it's broken down, as Sean Turner pointed out earlier. Again, trying to keep track of all of our what we're spending. Most of our bulk of our money is on HVAC and roofing. And so you'll see that as well in the FCA report coming up. So again, those are 2 capital maintenance, if anyone has any questions.
Thank you for your work and everything. I appreciate it.
Okay, at this time, we're going to move over to our facilities condition assessment, and I'm going to let Ms. Portee report out on that.
All right. Good afternoon, Chair Klein and members of the board. My report will provide an overview of the progress of the facility condition assessment. As a reminder, the facility condition assessment is a comprehensive evaluation of the physical condition and life cycle of our school systems and assets. It will guide the maintenance, repairs, and capital planning. And this work is being complete in 3 phases. So in phase 1 of our FCA, we assessed about 30 schools and facilities covering 54 total buildings. The work identified about 687 items for repair or replacement and created close to about 6,700 inventory records that we capture. Based on these findings, the repair and replacement work is already in progress. In our phase 2, which is underway, this includes 103 facilities and 161 total mobiles, modulars, and restrooms. And while repair work for phase 2 has not yet started, the assessment is progressing, and we anticipate that it will conclude in the next couple of weeks. As a reminder, the FCA work is essential because it gives us an accurate data-driven insight into the life cycle of our assets, and it helps us prioritize the repairs and replacements, as well as our capital planning. In phase 3, we have not kicked this off, and it is part of our long-range facility master's plan. I will now turn it over to Mr. David Switzer to provide an update of the progress of the phase 1 FCA capital maintenance projects.
All right, I'm back. Use similar format for us again. The highlighting is there to show the completion. We are about 94% of our FCA projects completed. A handful that are left are a generator and a transfer switch. Those will be done in the fall. A couple other ones as far as we have the boilers. We have a couple other projects. There's about 5 projects left to be completed for the fall. Ms. Klein, you had mentioned, I think before, when you saw like things that were canceled or changed. So this is one of the reports that does have that on. So the company that provided us the first FCA, they would give us the information and share with us, and then our folks would go out the same and kind of verify or see or just kind of really inspect it as well. So it's a collaborative effort. And so there's projects that maybe after they did them, or after they did the report, we had already done, then we followed up and did the stairs already. There was some lag in the report from the first one. So that's one reason we may have canceled, or we combined them, or we couldn't find the block of glass they were talking about. And we walked the building all over the place and couldn't find that. So we would just cancel that out for right now. But by all means, so we are working off of the list with diligence and to be able to get the projects taken care of for that. Mr. Ivy, if you'll step down, some will have 0 on the line item. So some were combined with another line item, the same PO. And so that's why there's a 0 for that funding. They just encompassed in the other line, or we're able to do it in-house, which costs us a lot less money than it would have been to contract that out. So again, you see a lot of blue on this. The team and building services, they really, project managers, senior engineers really did a great job of, because you think about it, they're still doing 23, 24 projects, 24, 25, and then they added $10 million worth of FCA projects. So that team really did a phenomenal job of getting through this information. Mr. Ivy, if you'll keep going down, as you can see some of them, it's a lot of blue on there. Philip O'Berry, we're finishing up. We've got one of the chillers in. We'll get the other one taken care of. Again, step treads at Philip O'Berry, so we'll combine that with another project possibly this year once we get that. A couple more pages there, Mr. Ivy, if you would, to share with the. Again, as we go down, there's an HVAC with, again, a Philip O'Berry exhaust fan. We'll get that taken care of in fall, and then finalized on the last page. really brings everything into focus of us finishing off. So any questions for FCA projects for us?
Ms. Nunn, Ms. Byers Bailey, Ms. Shook.
None at this time on this, no, thank you.
Yeah, I'm good right now.
I do have one question, and it's this or not, and I know Ms. Ship and I both have heard this, and Mr. Switzer, I know you've heard it many times. When is the heat coming on? When is the AC coming on? And especially with the weird weather we've had for the past month, what is the plan to at least communicate? Because we get the phone calls of, my child froze today. It was freezing cold, or the chiller's not working. What is the plan for the fall? What day are you going to turn the heat on, so to speak, or what are y'all doing?
Well, I'm kind of glad we didn't turn it on today and some, right? Because it's
know.
75 out there today. So
I
I will
agree.
tell you, I was with I met the HVAC department. I met with them this morning. They have regular first and third weeks of the month. So this topic came up, and they are, I think, maybe 1 or 2 schools left. And so what we're talking about the heat coming on is 2 pipe schools. They can only either they can heat or they can cool. And there's about 40 some schools are that way. The way we communicate is we send out to principals to have them put in a maintenance request about they would like to have their switch taken over. We put that on a list and our team works through it. So out of the 40 some schools that have 2 pipe systems, there's 1 and maybe 2 that are left. The rest of them have switched over. And as we tell principals, though, we're in the South and there is a lot of but once we split over, it's not like at your house where you go ahead and flick the heat on. It's or air back on. So we are right on top of that. There again, 1 or 2 schools they're taken care of. Your other question about like fixing things. Again, our team goes out, and I'm proud to say that we have really reduced the amount of backlog or overdue work orders this year, especially in HVAC, significantly. And we even lowered the time frame. We went from 30 days to a 14-day notice. So again, the team is really working on that, and they've been tasked all through the end of December to really get that number down to even more manageable number from there. So again, principals know what schools they have are 2 pipe, they submit, and then we take care of it from there. So
thank you. You know that we've all listened to those questions and complaints. So I just thought I would bring it up so people can hear. Thank you. All right. I think I'm trying to see where we are. We are now at the management oversight for transportation, correct? Or
That is correct.
yes.
We are now on to transportation. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Portee and our Executive Director of Transportation, Delvico Dunn, for that report.
I'm sorry, Ms. Klein.
All right. We will now present the update for transportation, and I will turn it over to Mr. Dunn.
Thank you, Ms. Portee. Thank you, Chair Klein and board members. With that, the purpose of this report is to explain our efforts in recruitment and retention of drivers, and also improving our service level across the district. And our WIG goals for the 25-26 school year. As always, our specific pillar and goal alignment aligns with the dashboard of Operation Excellence, Academic Excellence, and People Excellence, with the strategic plan being OE-4, PE-1, PE-1.002. With those targets, our 4 WIG goals for the 25-26 school year is as follows. Transportation will increase our AM on-time arrival time from between 91 and 93% by June of 2026. Also in the afternoon, we will also achieve between 87 and 89% as of June of 2026. The progress in the strategies thus far has been our leadership team continues to meet weekly to address concerns from our community, schools, etc., to make adjustments where we can and when we can. Results so far this school year, our morning on-time arrival average as of this report was ran a week or two ago, we're at 86.46%. And afternoon, we're at 85.58%. Though the numbers may seem low, actually running report, we are doing better and growing in our eyes, as with the deficit, as you'll see, our WIG goals have a direct correlation of all four of them with the staffing that we are ongoing.
Mr. Dunn, I
Yes.
don't mean to interrupt you.
Sure.
I just want to make sure that the committee votes on the previously presented reports.
Yes.
Yes, and what I'll do is I'll do that on both at the very end. I saw that. I apologize.
Okay, thank you.
Gotcha. No problem. As far as our target 2 goal is hiring and to retain 9% more technician than our previous fiscal school year, and also to hire and retain 5% of our full-time drivers from the previous year. Strategies for that alignment is continue to prioritize recruitment and retention of our current staff. Right now, we are 117 drivers short. So that is almost 4 times the number we were last year with only needing 35. But with that, our technician shortfall, we're in the need of 24 technicians. So we're operating at about 68% of our force, with a lack thereof of 32% when it comes to technicians and working on buses. So 117 drivers short and 24 technicians short on the transportation side thus far for the school year. Since July 1 of 2025, we have brought onboarded 75 drivers. However, we have had separation of 64 drivers. Separation is retirements, could be ER matters, or folks just seeking other employment. Technician wise, we've hired to date 4. We've separated 3. Target 3 goal, implement a GPS system. We are actively working with the procurement team, putting the final touches so that can go out for bid. And that is our Here Comes the Bus, Cal Lamp, Synovia contract. With those results are ongoing and should be in place for next school year. Target 4, as I stated, with our DPI inspection score, we will maintain and or reduce our score of 42 points. With that, the lower the score, the better. Strategies for that particular target goal: all transportation maintenance staff, supervisors, assistant directors, and or fleet and QSAs conducts 3 spot inspections weekly where they average and grade the points, hand it back to the technician for repairs. Also with that, we use our operations side of the house, whether it be drivers and or monitors or office staff. With that, all eyes on buses are better. Drivers see the bus 4 times a day, 5 times a week if it's a full week, which is 20 times a week, while that mechanic may only see the bus 1 time within a 30-day period. Average score right now is 65.13%, but we are harder on ourselves than our DPI representative when he comes, because we want to be locked in and ready. Overall, our objective still remains to be the same. Number 1, we prioritize student safety and timely transportation. Number 2, we want to continue to hire and retain our current workforce. And 3, we always deal with community support. And another asterisk on our on-time arrival, Charlotte-Mecklenburg traffic has changed, where you can't get to point A and point B within a timely manner where it used to be on certain roads. So we are looking at that in alignment with our routing as well. Going forward, plan of action. And I know, a lot of people speak on this, and just letting folks know, transportation continuously works together, our department leads, our managers, to discuss strategies to reduce our late buses and or delays, targeted recruitment efforts, internal and external, with our hiring team, working with HR and working with our community partners, and also word of mouth within our department. Our drivers are our best catalyst to promote what we have and what we have to offer. Maximizing route efficiency where possible, just completing the state report, combining routes where we can to eliminate buses with low ridership where it won't impact other students' time, deploying available substitutes when they are available to drive routes, also deploying office-based staff to drive as well when available. And new to it, networking opportunities with neighborhood schools with the same bell time and attendance zone. All options are on the table at this point, and restructuring of our current routes and pairings for route optimization. So I'm always engaged with our team, looking for new ideas, we answer Let's Talks and all, but we're looking for improvement all the time so we can make our goals and to make sure kids get to school to and from on time without affecting any scholars' educational success. With that, I'll turn it back over to the committee for any questions.
Ms. Byers-Bailey, do you have a question?
Yes, I have a observation, comment, and question. I guess it's all in one. I noticed about a month or so ago, some parents had gotten together and suggested a consolidated stop. And at first it seemed like they weren't getting any traction. And then finally somebody looked at it and said, well, maybe it would work. And it ended with a success. But it seemed like they had a hard time being heard with that suggestion. Do you recall that interaction?
Ms. Thelma Byers-Bailey, I can very vaguely hear you. Can somebody repeat it? I know it was about an interaction and something got solved, if I heard it correctly.
I think she was referencing, she had some constituents that were struggling to get a consolidated stop. Ms. Byers-Bailey, I would say I've had multiple schools tell me that they've had issues getting consolidated stops. So I think she was asking comment, question, and all of the above, but I think that one of the things I would suggest is we find a more proactive way to work on consolidated stops. I will also say, as a parent, you don't necessarily know who all's at your school or who's riding the bus. And one of the things that's extremely challenging is sometimes hitting those thresholds as well. And historically, especially for a lot of our school choice magnet programs, they really need consolidated stops to optimize their routes. And again, in a lot of cases, they don't know who's on what route and doing what. So asking them to do those things becomes extremely challenging. But I know it took a solid few months for a few schools that I was working with to get to what they needed to.
Thank you, Board Member Nunn. So starting this school year, how it was, consolidated stops was erased out the system when the year changes over. Going forward, it's been put in place. Whatever consolidated stops we have now will stay on the route. It won't be a scratch. Also, schools led the charge with consolidated stops. Now transportation has taken back over that initiative. We do have multiple families that would like to engage in a consolidated stop, which we definitely don't mind doing, but we still have the one or two outliers where they would be within reason of the consolidated stop, but if they elect not to use it, we still have to provide, that service to them as well. So to answer your question, yes, ma'am, everything will remain the same as is this year where consolidated stops are. The deck will not be erased like it is done in usual, and the schools will not lead the charge on consolidated stops going forward. That will be transportation, and we will have more information on our website so parents can move forward to elect that. And it helps us out too when we have consolidated stops instead of making multiple stops in the region and or neighborhood.
I want to just provide an additional comment on that. So each year when the consolidated stops are set, when we do the roll over the course of the summer, that data would go away. So what we are working toward is once the consolidated stops are established, one, they would remain year over year, and then two, we are working to also identify, to your point, Board Member Nunn, to identify safe locations where students could congregate for a consolidated stop or community-based stop. And so the team has been charged with assessing, as Mr. Dunn alluded to, the areas and working with schools, because schools know what families have said, hey, we want to consolidate stops. And so please know that that is our initiative, and we're working with schools. And if you have any additional information on the families that have stated they were having a hard time, we certainly will take that and get that addressed immediately.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Porty.
Thank you. Ms. Nunn, did you have any other questions, particularly about the bus app and everything? I know that had been a concern.
Yeah, one of the questions I had is, and I've seen this personally as well as seeing this commentary from some others. When you guys are calculating your stats, do we know what percentage is not recorded? A lot of times, like for instance, my son's bus pickup time and drop off time aren't recorded sometimes. So I guess, are we excluding those from the calculation when we do it, or are those included in your on-time arrivals, or?
So with that, Ms. Nunn, we can actually break it down to put it in and or out. That's what we
Okay.
deem a miss for a bus. I talked about that in Platt with our principals as well. So the information and data can be narrowed down to a specific school, to a specific bus, to where it, can calculate on time and or late or missed.
Okay.
So yes, it can be narrowed down that far. And with that, when you, I know Chair Klein said about the app and here comes the bus, that is a part of Target Goal 3 that's on the table moving forward. Our contract expires with our current vendor in 2026. That's why we are already taking the steps to get that out, to see what's out there for what we can get for parents and families of our district. So we're working on that as well.
And I do have one more question.
Keep going.
100 District 6 gets a lot. Like, I'll be very honest. This is the year I've gotten the most feedback on transportation challenges, to say the least. And it doesn't shock me hearing that we have 117 absences. Besides, obviously, we need to do something different, right? This is the largest one we've got, 4 times more than we said last year. I see it weekly too on my kids' buses. They're subbed multiple times. What else are we doing or working within staff to figure out how do we recruit more drivers or utilize more staff to cover the buses?
So
I'll take that one, Mr. Can I take that one, Mr. Dunn?
Sure, yes, ma'am. Go ahead. And
And then
I
you
can
can-
piggyback off of you. No worry. I just know what Ms. Nunn said in District 6.
Yeah.
District 6 is busting at the seams on the southern. When we ride through there, we see apartment complexes, housing developments coming up like daily. But go ahead, Ms. Porty.
Yeah. So one of the things we're doing, Mr. Dunn and the team, is it's important for us to know who's riding the bus. So we do a really big push with, requesting parents to let us know if they're going to ride the bus. But we also recognize that sometimes they request it, but they truly don't need it or life happens. And so based off of ridership, based off consistent days of no ridership, upward to 10, sometimes 15 days, and the driver's not seeing students, we can start eliminating those stops.
Okay.
What that does is it reduces the number of stops, which could essentially allow us to combine a route, which takes a bus off of the road. So instead of 117, we now have 116. And so they are taking a closer look at who's riding the bus on a daily basis. Secondly, as they assess the consolidated stops, alternate stops, we're also looking at a community-based stop is really kids congregating at a corner opposed to where safe to do so, congregating at a corner versus the bus stopping at each door. And so that within itself eliminates the number of stops, and it also eliminates it reduces the amount of time it takes to make 10 stops. So instead of making 10, we make 1. So we're looking at some of those strategies to help with the reduction of buses needed in order to address the staffing issue. That doesn't mean that we won't continue to recruit. It just means that we have to add several elements to address the shortage, if that makes sense. Nothing drastic. Certainly, we're safe to do so. We will assign those stops and say, this is your pickup location. And again, making sure that we are responding and assessing the consolidated stops. As parents make the request, there's also transportation initiating those stops as well. So it's a multi-step process to ensure that we can optimize our services to address the staffing issues.
No, I think that's a good one. One of my children is in one of those, and it does save time. So, and as an aside, for school choice magnet, for someone who was on express stops and now off of it, all of us that were on express stops preferred those to door to door. So, just a side note, but I encourage you to be aggressive in consolidated community stops too, because I see it in some places and I don't in others, and I think most would encourage you to do so as well.
Thanks, Mika.
And I want to second that with Ms. Nunn, what Ms. Nunn's saying about community stops. And I can say it as an experienced CMS parent who had children who rode the bus. They walked to the corner and it was okay. I have a major concern, and I do question, I'd like for you to look at it, that would help with that community stop, because when you have bus to bus service within a half mile and it's a safe half mile, I think that's a waste of gas and time and people, where you can have a consolidated or a community stop. I see it in my neighborhood where you can go, they could walk and they get bus service. And the children who when my kids were growing up, walked to school because they were within a mile of the school and they safely got there. So I think that's something that we can look at, especially with the growth and the size of our district and the need. And I encourage you to look at that to take care of the absences. So, and I wanted transportation to go over what has happened so far because of the concerns we had heard this year. So I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else that y'all would like to share?
Yeah, I just want to share in my community, which is in District 6 still. Yes, they have stops that are up to the corner. It's not at the house. And also, so that's been good. But we've had situations where parents have just had to take them home to school because the buses weren't coming. So, and we have so much growth in the community that I know they've had to add a lot of stops, because every month or so there's a new development. This is the growth in Southwest Charlotte. Every month, I'm sure there's a new community coming up. So I know that's affecting as well. We have a lot of communities you probably didn't even have last year this time. So I'm sure that is affecting. So I hope we'll continue to do some consolidated stops and because that's needed. Thank you. But thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. I
Thank
will
you.
add that as the county grows, the model in which we've had for several, many years, we're trying to adjust that to ensure that we can, one, get students to school on time, and two, address the driver shortage, because we recognize that drivers will come and go, but we also recognize that in order to navigate the roads of Mecklenburg County, we cover about 523 square miles transporting students back and forth to school. So in order to do that effectively, we are taking several steps to identify the most effective way to ensure that students arrive on time in the morning and afternoon.
Well,
Time is what it is.
Thank you for everything that y'all have done. Ms. Bazell, I know we have two reports, and I know the first one, does the committee wish to have the report on the operations and construction presented as an executive summary or at the upcoming board meeting? Can I have a motion from someone?
I move, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ms. Ship.
I move that we make this an executive summary going forward.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hands or say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Ms. Byers Bailey, was that an aye?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, thank you, that it passes 4-0. The second is, do we have, the committee wish to have the report presented at the upcoming board meeting or distribute as an executive summary for the transportation? Ms. Ship?
I agree for this to be executive summary moving forward.
I second that motion.
Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
right. The report, the motion carries 4-0. This is my last FF&O meeting. I want to thank Ms. Nunn, Ms. Ship, and Ms. Byers Bailey for being a part of it. I also want to thank Ms. Portee, Mr. Ivy, Mr. Dunn, Mr. Switzer for all of the hard work. Mr. Cook, thank you for the great audit, and Ms. Sayer, everything that you do to keep us running. We do have to keep the school system running for the students, and it's not an easy job with a district as big as this is. So thank you for all of you that you've done. And if we have any other questions or comments, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all. It's been a good meeting, and I'm gonna miss this committee members that are on.
I'm gonna
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Last meeting, Lisa.
Oh yeah, I thought I'd gotten off. Take care.
You too. I gotta get.